Ever since Lopetegui took over as West Ham's head coach, he's been trying to formulate and work around the players that he signed in order to pick his strongest starting 11. Once this starting 11 has been picked, he's going to have to stick with it to get the best chance of maintaining consistent form and getting the best out of players, both individually and collectively. One area of the team that I do feel that is going to be chopped and changed quite a bit throughout the season is the midfield three. The midfield trio has to have some balance to it, and we've not really had a lot of balance to it all season. In the game against Fulham, I noticed a few things about the three starting players, which were Rodriguez, Alvarez, and Souček. I'm going to be talking about in this video all about how the midfield can be changed, which players can start in which positions, and how Lopetegui can get the best out of them in these roles. Let's talk about that Fulham game to begin with. Although West Ham was fortuitous in some ways to come away with a point and finish with a result that was 1-1 at Craven Cottage, it was not pleasing to watch, especially from the midfield standpoint. I will admit that Lopetegui did make some changes and put on Carlos Soler and Lucas Paquetá, but the starting midfield trio was not the correct one in my opinion. And to be honest with you, I don't want to see how that midfield lined up to be our basis going forward. Let me talk about the players and the roles. Edson Alvarez and Guido Rodriguez were in a pivot, and surprisingly Thomas Souček was deployed in what seemed to be a number 10 role. There are some positives and negatives about this. The main negative is that we know that Thomas Souček has never really ever been an attacking midfielder in a 10 role. Why? Because he's a defensive midfielder with attacking qualities, more emphasis on defense than attacking sometimes. Souček's goals mainly come from attacking set pieces and scoring headers. Yes, he scored from an open play situation as well, as he did against Crystal Palace, but it's not wise to play him in a 10 role. He does not have the pace, the creativity, or the skill to play in that role. And he definitely struggled against Fulham. So much so that Lucas Paquetá, who has been played in a central attacking midfielder role all of his career pretty much, was put on in Souček's place. Once Paquetá came on, the passing improved and West Ham passed the ball forward a hell of a lot more. He added a little bit more drive to the team. The positive is what I want to come to next, because I think it's better to talk about the positive afterwards. Rodriguez and Alvarez worked together well in the pivot. They did so while they were playing in Mexico. Alvarez acts as the defensive midfielder who can carry the ball if need be, but also can play as a centre-back off the ball. Fundamental to what most modern defensive midfielders do, to be honest, and he's excellent at it. Last season, he showed that he can definitely play in a good way when he drops deep, and also can run with the ball going forward a little bit as well. He covers a lot of ground, makes the tackles, and puts in the graft. Guido Rodriguez is an interesting case. He is a defensive midfielder as well, but his playing style is based more around his analytical and tactical intelligence. Rodriguez is able to stand back more, which allows him to have a clearer vision of what's going on in the game. I call it maybe a 270 vision, where he's able to see what's going on both sides and then dictate how the play is going to come about. This role has helped him to pick out key passes and make some interceptions in the middle, which then allows Alvarez to act as additional cover. This is a good thing. It allows strength in the midfield and ability to win the ball back in crucial positions. I've said that can't be the three going forward. So, who could you swap out? Well, Thomas Tuchel might sound like the easiest solution to that, but I don't see him really getting dropped in this Lopetegui lineup. But if it were up to me, Souček would come out once in a while, and maybe Carlos Soler and Lucas Paquetá go in there instead. Now look, Paquetá can play in the 8 or the 10. They put him naturally at the number 10. It's the perfect place for him to be. There have been calls to put Mohamed Kudus in this position, but I prefer Kudus out on the wing because we can't have Paquetá playing out on the wing. It's not somewhere where he excels. Or you could play him on the same lateral line as Emerson for the, I suppose, connection that they have, if you want to call it that. It worked at the start of last season. With Paquetá playing in the 10, you're going to get someone who can provide the bridge between the pass and the crucial pass into the box. Someone who can get the ball into a more attacking situation. And somebody who can make passes to the wingers and encourage them to go forward a bit more. Passing has been a key part of Paquetá's game, not at least crucial through balls and passes. Just look at what happened in the 2023 Conference League final. He played the game-winning goals assist. He put it through to Jared Bowen very cleanly. Your other option for in your central midfield is actually Carlos Soler. Soler came on against Fulham, and I shall repeat his statistics within his short appearance. 1 interception and 7 out of 7 short passes completed for a 100% pass completion rate. I see some hard work in Soler. He really came on and wanted to make an impact, and you could tell by the way he acted and the way his body language was that he was very determined to give this a go. He used to play as an attacking midfielder when he was a lot younger. And as time has gone by, he's dropped into a central midfielder role. But he's acted as a false attacking midfielder on a couple of occasions, which isn't so bad at all. He's a player who I wouldn't necessarily put in a 10 role, but rather put him as a central midfielder in a front of the pivot. It doesn't restrict us as much, though. But it's going to be an interesting take to see where he actually will play in the system. I'm not 100% sure where he could play. Rodriguez and Alvarez can continue in that pivot because they work quite well with each other. I've been impressed with how quickly Rodriguez has settled into life in England and the Premier League. He's made pretty much a good impact. Maybe doesn't get enough credit as Alvarez, but he still is praiseworthy. Souček cannot really play a pivot role with another central midfielder. He and James Ward-Prowse didn't work well together. And Lopetegui saw it with his own 2 eyes that it wasn't working well together, to be honest with you. You can't really put Souček as back as a defensive midfielder because it's not really beneficial for him and it might hold him back a bit. Put him as a centre mid, maybe try him in a pivot with Rodriguez or Alvarez and see what it gets you. A pivot with Rodriguez would mean that Rodriguez stays back a lot more, Souček can advance a bit. And I'd be okay with that. As long as he's not in the 10 role and he's the bridge but into the attacking midfielder, that's okay. I feel that Soler could be used in a variety of different ways, but that's up to Lopetegui to decide. Paquetá easily 10 for me, or as a wider midfielder. The midfield at West Ham's always been a position where we've had some difficulties in the past. We've had some consistency, yes. And we've had a variety of versatility and also accountability for mistakes in this particular part of the team. But it does something that does require a lot of changing. It might take time to get it right, but the bottom line is you've got a stopgap midfielder, an analytical midfielder, someone who can probably play multiple roles, a defensive midfielder who can attack set pieces more than he can from open play, and a Brazilian who plays as a central attacking midfielder. Got a wide range there. It's up to Lopetegui to choose how he can use the tools that he's given. Hopefully, he can use them in the right way and find something that does click.